This is Damian Macy of the Friends of the Library Oral History Project. Today is October the 9th, and at the library I have with us today Larry Strohm, who's been involved in businesses in the area, and I think is basically a longtime resident of our town. So with that, I'll introduce you to Larry.
Thank you, Damian, for doing this for the library also, and I'm more than happy to participate in this project.
Great to have you.
So I'll start out here with the different items that you have listed here. It says, when and where were you born? Well, I was born Terre Haute, Indiana, of course, with my mother and father living both here in Marshall, needless to say. My parents were Warren Strohm and Ann Strohm. They were also both Marshall residents all their lives. So I have three siblings, excuse me. Two sisters, Becky Holmes, which lives here in Marshall, Carol Chappell, which lives up in Kankakee, Illinois, or a suburb of Kankakee actually. And then my brother Randy Strohm, who lived here for years but is now a resident of Springfield, Illinois. And they're all, like me, they're retired, is what I'm saying. So.
Larry, did your grandmother live in Martinsville?
My step-grandmother did live in Martinsville, yes, she sure did. She was a operator over there, telephone operator for years. After my real grandmother died, my grandfather married Catherine, was her name. I don't know what her maiden name was or whatever. He married Catherine, and she was a telephone operator over there for years, where they used to, plug them in and so forth. And
well, was she known also as Katie?
yes, she was.
Well, she lived right across the street from us.
Is that right?
Yeah. When my folks bought the house out on East Main Street in Martinsville, she lived right across the street.
Oh.
So that's been several years ago. Of course.
Well, she lived, I can tell you exactly where she lived, because we used to go over there and visit and actually stay all night.
Right up the hill.
Exactly, right up the hill. As you come into Martinsville, you get to the top of the hill, and there's a house there on the left-hand side, and that's...
We live in a tan brick, or brown brick house right across the street.
I know exactly where you're talking about.
Okay, you can go on with your family.
But anyway, it says, are you a native in Marshall? Yes, I've been in my Marshall all my life. I'm saying, other than 1 year I went to Southern Illinois University and lived in Carbondale, but the rest of my time I've all been right here in Marshall, needless to say. I've lived in Marshall, 3 different houses in Marshall, basically. I started out down on Plum Street. Jeannie and I got married and bought a house on Plum Street, which you were kind enough to finance for me. Then after that, it was a very small house. Jeannie got pregnant with our second child, so we decided we need something a little bigger, so we moved down on Vine Street, 503 Vine Street. A lot of people call that the Kemp House. Reverend Kemp lived in that house for years. And as a matter of fact, several people have told me when we lived there that back in the old days, you used to have funerals in the home themselves. I'm saying that his funeral was actually in that home. So I'm saying, and then as time went by, we had our third child and decided that we were going to build a new house. So we built a new house up in Terry Stevens subdivision, and we've lived there now for 34 years. So we've been there ever since.
You mentioned your children. What are their names and where are they located?
Our oldest child's name is Corey Strohm. He worked for me, with me, not for me, but with me at the bank. Well, he worked at the IGA for several years with his grandfather. And then after his grandfather sold the IGA, he came to work at the bank with me. And he worked at the bank with me for 11 years till I retired. And then he was there 14 years. And now he has changed and is working at First Financial Bank in Terre Haute now, is what I'm saying. My oldest daughter's name is Kylie. She's a school teacher. She started out teaching in a suburb of Chicago, and she was there for, I don't know now, 7 to 9 years. I don't remember for sure. After she left there, went to a school as a suburb of St. Louis, and then she taught in St. Louis for about 5 years, I suppose. She left St. Louis and got a job in Urbana, Illinois. Taught school in Urbana for 3 years, I believe. Decided she's never been married, doesn't have any children. She decided she wanted to get a little closer to home because Jeannie and I happen to have 5 grandkids, and which are her nieces and nephews, and she's very attached to them, needless to say. And she decided she wanted to get a little closer to home to spend more time with her nieces and nephews. So she got a job in Hudsonville, Illinois.
Really?
And taught down there for 3 years. And then just starting this year, KZ Westfield had an opening in Family and Consumer Science is what she teaches. And this is her first year at KZ Westfield. So she's been, this is her 21st year teaching. So that's what she's
Finally
doing.
back close to home.
Back close to home, right, and she's very much enjoying it. Then my youngest daughter's name is Chelsea. Rogerson is her name. She's married to Tyler Rogerson. They live in Terre Haute, north side of Terre Haute, Indiana. She works at Rose Holman Institute.
Great.
She is a mental health counselor at Rose Holman. And she's been there probably about 4 years. Very proud that she just got promoted to director of that service.
Great.
And just this year. And like I said, she's been there about 5 years, and I'm amazed at how busy. I think there's 5 counselors there, full time there. And I'm amazed at how busy they are, needless to say, which that very much needed. So anyway, she's that's where she teaches over there, and her husband works at Fifth Third Bank in Terre Haute. So those are my children. Corey is 44, and Kylie is 42, and Chelsea is 36 now. So
Wow.
time goes by in a hurry,
Sure
doesn't
does.
it? But anyway, as I said, yeah, I've lived in Marshall all my life. I'm 71 years old now, and so I was only gone 1 year. Other than that, I've been in Marshall the whole
You're
time.
just a kid. If to go back just a little bit, did you go to the Southside School? Or what school did you go
No, I went to North School.
to? Okay.
We were the matter of fact, my parents. If you remember where the North School was,
I went there 4 years.
Did you go there? Okay. Right across the street is where is now the Methodist Church parking lot. Well, that's where my parents lived when I was born, and that's where I came home to, is what I'm saying. And we lived there my whole elementary school time, so all I had to do was walk across the street to get to school.
How convenient.
So that's where we lived, and then of course, then we moved to Hickory Street, which is up there by the high school, not very far from the high school, and lived there for, I don't know how many years, but lived there for several years, and then my mother and father built a new house by Burnside's nursing home out there, and they moved out there, and anyway. But it says here, what was your neighborhood like? I had a great, I couldn't ask for a better area to live in and neighborhood to live in growing up, so I'm saying I had Tons of children were in my area. We played all the time, rode our bikes around. It was actually a great neighborhood. And it says, how's it changed? I don't think it's changed much, to be honest with you.
Other than the people.
Other than the people, the house that I lived in that area is still there. One of the Parsons, older Parsons ladies lives there. She was married to a Rhodes. She's a Rhodes now, and unfortunately her husband passed away. But that's who lives there. And then right next door, Elaine Fritcher, who lives right next door, is what I'm saying. So that's who lives in those houses. But yeah, I had a great, lots of kids in the area, so we had lots of fun playing and riding bikes and just doing everything, is what I'm saying. So it was a great area. We had, like I said, there was kids all ages there too, is what I'm saying, from my sister's ages to my brother, and we just, I'll tell you a story about that neighborhood. As Ron Sutton lived behind me. He was my age, and him and I were riding bikes one day, and we got the smart idea that, well, it wasn't too smart, but that we were going to play chicken, riding our bikes towards each other. Well, unfortunately, neither one of us chickened out, is what I'm saying. And we hit head on. And if you look at my front two teeth now, you'll see they're not there, and that was the result of us playing chicken, is what I'm saying.
You didn't do that again, though.
Didn't do that again. I learned my lessons, what I'm saying. So
what did Mom and Dad say about that?
They were not very happy, is what I'm saying. Ron's mom and dad was gone, and he had an older brother by the name of Byron that was babysitting him or watching him, and he came out and found out about it, and he was sure upset with Ron, is what I'm saying. He let him have it, but says, tell you about your childhood. I had great parents. Damon.
Sure did.
I couldn't ask for a better childhood growing up, so I'm saying it was just great. That's all I can say. We all just had great times, so I'm saying. My chores were, when you say chores there, I think of another story I'll tell you real quick. One of my chores was, of course, like a lot of young men, was to take the trash out. And my two older sisters, and my mom had went Christmas shopping one day, and they came home, and I stayed home. I didn't go with them. Well, they came home, carried all their package in, put them in the kitchen there, and pretty soon my mom yelled at me. She said, I told you to take the trash out while I was gone. And she said, you never did it. Now get that trash taken out. So I ran over there and grabbed what I thought was trash. Back in those days, you can relate to, you threw your trash in a 55-gallon drum and set it on fire and burn it, that's what I'm saying. Well, I grabbed all the trash I thought was trash, took it out there and set it on fire. And about 10 minutes later, here come my mom and my sisters and said, where's all those Christmas presents we just bought, is what I'm saying. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, unknown to me, I had grabbed all the Christmas presents they had just bought, thinking they were trash, and took it all out to the trash can and set them all on fire, needless to say.
That was a hot Christmas.
Yeah, so
oh, gee.
That was interesting, needless to say.
Oh, that.
The church, I've always went to the First United Methodist Church here all my life. I still go there. They used to give you awards for perfect attendance for going to school, going to church there and it added up for, got 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, so forth. I remember, I don't remember how many years it was, but I had got up, I think, to like 9 years in a row or something. I had missed a Sunday for like 9 years in a row. Now, if you went on vacation, they excused you or whatever, is what I'm saying. But I remember my parents and family always went to First United Methodist Church. It's a good church. So I went to school, of course, in Marshall. After I graduated from high school, decided I was going to go to Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. I went down there to a school, majored in never heard of it anywhere else. My major was called cooperative retailing, was the major, and it basically was training you to manage any type of retail type stores, what I'm saying. So I went to school down there my first year after graduating from college. After the end of 1 year, I don't know why, but Southern Illinois University dropped that major, that cooperative retail, and they did away with that major. So they said the people that are in it could finish, but they weren't going to continue with that major anymore. So I thought that doesn't sound very appealing to me, is what I'm saying. So I dropped out of Southern Illinois University in cooperative and decided to transfer to Lakeland College in Mattoon and major in accounting. So I transferred then, after my first year down there, I transferred to Mattoon to Lakeland Junior College and completed my degree in accounting at Lakeland Junior College. Considered going on to Eastern to get my bachelor's degree, but it was a mistake now, but it's about water under the bridge. I did not go back and quit with my degree and associate degree in accounting, what I did. So.
Say high school, what was your favorite subject?
Math has always been my favorite subject. Yeah, math was always my favorite subject. So.
Take the reverse, what was the subject you disliked the most?
Probably science. Probably science. I was never I was an average student, I'll put it this way. I was never in the top 10, or I was never in the bottom 10, is what I'm saying. I was got A's and B's and C's, is what I'm saying, so.
Nothing wrong with that.
But
with that degree or interest in counting, was the interest in math, what brought you into that?
I believe it was, yes.
Okay.
I believe it was. Yeah, yes, I'm sure it was. Because math was always my strong suit in school. So.
When you were at Lakeland, did they have such a thing as a computer?
Yes, they did have a computer.
Really? Okay.
It was as big as this room. The way you program that computer was with punch cards. You had little skinny. I'm sure you're familiar with them. Little skinny cards about 10 inches long and about 2.5 inches wide, and you punch different holes in this card. And that's what told the computer what to do, is what I'm saying. So, what a change from today.
Isn't it though?
I'm not kidding you, that it would have taken this whole room for that computer to set in, and there were just the one, is what I'm saying. So everybody had to take turns.
And a lot of extra cooling to keep it that cool too.
You're right. But yes, that would have been in 1972. Was when I was at Lakeland College, I'm saying.
Okay. So did this school use it for accounting and teaching accounting? Or was it for their own personal use of operation of the school?
They had I remember having to take a computer class, but I don't think it was, I think it was for the people who want to major in, specialize in computer programming and so forth. It wasn't for everybody to use, but I do know that I did, by being an accounting major, I do know I had to take 1 or 2 classes and use that particular
You'd
computer.
have a priority, I'm sure, for use of it then.
Right, but most of it was, most of the accounting classes were done using calculators. Everything was done by calculators. Calculator and hand calculated everything.
And when you say calculator, they were mechanical too, not electronic.
You're right. And they were, again, about a foot wide, and they were.
Yeah, and noisy as could be.
And noisy as could be. You're exactly right. So that's what I did as far as college goes. I came, if you want to know a little bit, I don't know, maybe on down here, but after I graduated from college, from Lakeland, I came back home. Actually, I moved back home to my home with my parents, actually. I actually lived with my parents the whole time I was going to Lakeland too, and drove from Marshall to Mattoon back and forth every day. Of course, my dad was in the petroleum business, so he provided the gasoline for me to go back and forth. And
Just out of curiosity, do you recall what the price per gallon was at that time?
I don't know. I can tell you, I remember gas being as low. Of course, my dad being in petroleum business, so I'm saying I always, even when I was in high school, always helped my dad at his business. The lowest I remember, I believe, was 18 cents a gallon. I believe is the lowest that I remember gasoline being. Is 18 cents a gallon. So.
Oh, for the days.
Yeah, those were the days. You know, however, my wife and I went to Evansville for the weekend, and I did buy gas yesterday in Evansville for $2.56.
It's always cheaper down there.
$2.56 yesterday. So.
You wished you'd had an extra tank.
Yeah. Should have hauled the tank down there in the back of my truck, shouldn't I? But like I said, I drove back and forth to Lakeland. Of course, I was actually dating my wife at that time also, so need to say when I drove back and forth so I could spend time with her at that time, need to say also.
Imagine that.
Well, yeah.
Would you care to elaborate on her family and background?
Well, another funny story about, I started dating her, she was a freshman, I was a senior in high school, is what I'm saying, is when we started dating. And I've been married now, we've been married 46, well, it'll be 46 years coming up here for long. And the funny thing about it was, as I was speaking earlier, my parents built a new house out there by Burnside's nursing home. Well, I was dating my wife at the time that they built that, and the funny thing about it was her parents' house was right next door, is what I'm saying. And so when we get ready to go out on a date, I just call her up and say, "You ready to go?" And she'd say, "Yeah." I'd say, "Okay, I'll meet you out the car." So she'd come out of her house and I'd come out of my house, and we'd meet out there at the car and go on our dates, what I'm saying. So I tease her all the time and tell her that I married the girl next door, which is a true story. But yeah, her parents were, of course, as you know, owned several businesses here in town, what I'm saying, and they were super people also, what I'm saying, treated me, as my wife always says, they treated you better than they did me, is what I'm saying. So,
you might mention their names and all, and what businesses they own.
My in-laws' names were Darrell and Rogine Harlow, and Darrell owned, was a Dog and Suds at one time in the south edge of town. Then that restaurant got changed to, there was a restaurant it got changed to some other type of restaurant. I can't remember the name of it right now, but then they ended up tearing that building down and building a new building on that location, and at that time it became a Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Okay,
I helped, when I lived on Vine Street, of course that was right out my back door, and so in the evenings after I get off work from the city, which we'll get into that a little while later, but then I would work some at the Kentucky Fried Chicken in the evenings and on the weekends. At the same time, Daryl and Rogine owned the Marshall IGA at the same time, which as I got older, going back to when I was going to Lakeland, Daryl was kind enough to give me a job at the IGA, so I would work evenings and weekends at the IGA for them also. So I had a job my entire time I went to college. Not at Southern, but after I came back to Lakeland, I got a job and I worked the entire time going to college part-time. Most of it either for my dad or for Daryl and Rogine, but I learned real early in life. My dad on the weekend, on Fridays, would always say, "What do you have planned for the weekend?" And of course, my dad was self-employed also, owned a petroleum distribution business. And I learned early in life that you never said, "I don't have any plans," because the next sentence out of your dad's mouth was, "Well, now you do have plans."
I could see that coming.
And he would always have a job for me then, is what I'm saying. And looking back, I'm very grateful for that, because that taught me how to work and the responsibility of work. One of the jobs I disliked the most was working for my dad. My dad at that time owned either 8 or 9 service stations that he owned, and if you remember, Damien, back in the old days, all those had flat roofs. What I'm saying, all those service stations had flat tarred roofs. Well, one of my jobs every summer after I got my driver's license was to take his old pickup truck and take the 5-gallon cans of tar and the brush and retar every one of those service station roofs every summer. That was one of my jobs, I'm saying.
And the hottest day was what made that tar settle just right.
And you couldn't do it unless it was 90 degrees or better, is what I'm saying, you know. But again, looking back, I loved my parents. I loved my in-laws. They were very, very good to me, is what I'm saying. Very, very good to me. Good people.
They sure were. I knew both of them.
I know you did, and I couldn't ask for better parents or better in-laws. I'm saying either one.
And I think you touched on a good thing that so many people, young people today, don't get, is a good work ethic.
Exactly.
And that came from obviously your training at home.
Yes, it did, and I'm proud to say, Damien, I've never drawn a dime in unemployment in my life. So I'm saying I've always had a job of some sort.
Sure.
It may not been the, well, I'll elaborate on that a little bit too. After I graduated from college, my dad was a city council member at that time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the city, I didn't have a job after I just graduated and didn't have a job, except I was working part-time at the IGA. But my dad was an alderman at that time, and the city had just bought a brand new sewer cleaning machine. And they were looking for somebody to operate the sewer cleaning machine. Well, I just graduated college with an accounting degree, and my first job was for the city of Marshall cleaning sewers, what I'm saying.
Because the bottom of this,
but I needed a job, and they offered it to, had it, and like I said, my dad was a council member, and they all let me have the job, and that's what my first job was out of college that summer. What I'm saying was I ran a sewer cleaning machine for the city of Marshall. What I'm saying, and I'm probably only guy you know of that's ever crawled down on his hands and knees down the sewer on 2nd Street. Is a 36-inch sewer, and I crawled through that thing from one block to the other block with an axe in my hand, chopping roots out of that sewer. What I'm saying.
Did you have to be fumigated when you got home?
I always teased my mother-in-law, because Jeannie was still in high school at that time, my wife, but she'd always say, well, come out on my lunch hour and her lunch hour at the same time. She'd always say, well, come out to my house for lunch. And so I always teased my mother-in-law why in the world did you let me come to your house for lunch with your daughter after I was cleaning those sewers? Needless to say, she never said a word. What I'm saying, but God bless her. But I know I had to not smell the best in the world. Needless to say. But anyway, getting back to here.
What a quick career path.
Yeah, you know what that did though. Frank Pierce was the mayor at that time, and that's when the city decided they needed somebody to manage the office of the city. So I'm saying the utility office. So I'm saying they needed a manager, and because I was working for the city at that time, and I had an accounting degrees, I went straight from cleaning sewers to the office manager of the city of Marshall. What I'm saying. And did that for 10 years, needless to say. Mm-hmm. So it was a blessing in disguise, needless to say. I didn't have near the stinkiest job after that.
I'm sure.
So anyway, the hobbies are, like I said, I'm a great dad. I played Little League baseball. Baseball was always my favorite, and he was even though he were busy, he'd take time out from his job and coached. Is what I'm saying. Yeah. Coached my team. Is what I'm saying, and so I got to play. I never did play. Well, I tried to play freshman football. That didn't work out so well. I was a little tiny thing, weighed about 95 pounds, and I did stick it out the whole freshman year. But
it was tough.
about the time the senior halfback, I was supposed to tackle him one day, and he smashed me like an ant, I think, and I decided my football career was over. Needless to say, so. Anyway, my hobbies as a child was, like I said, was playing baseball. Any sports I play today, basically golf. I'm saying pretty well all I do now is play golf. I'm saying in the summertime, now that I'm retired, I do play golf 2 or 3 times a week usually. So I'm saying, and I have some friends that we meet out there and play golf, and it's fun.
You do that also when you're in the Sunshine State?
Well, I don't play nearly as much down there because, as I mentioned a while earlier, Naples is so expensive, and golf is unbelievable expensive down there. You can't play golf in Naples. Number one, Naples doesn't have very many public golf courses. They're almost all private.
Yeah.
They do have a few public, but even to play those, you're going to pay anywhere from $135 to $300 to play one round of golf. And to give you some comparison, here in Marshall, of course that's only 9 hole course, that's 18 down there, but out here in Marshall I play $17, needless to say, I play out here. So
keep a lot more in your pocket.
So needless to say, I play very little golf when I'm in Florida, needless to say. that's one of the reasons why I'd kind of like to get out of Naples and get to somewhere that's maybe a little more reasonable and for golf also.
Do you have like any collections or other things that are hobbies that you enjoy?
Well, I don't really have any collections of anything that, I've always been a car buff, so I'm saying. I love cars, so I'm saying.
You can collect them.
Well, I have one collector car. I have a 2003 the 50th anniversary Corvette, so I'm saying. I've been a Corvette fan all my life. Matter of fact, that's another story I can tell you about. After I graduated from college, Don Stanfield owned the dealership down here. And I was down there just piddling around looking at cars. And back in those days, Corvettes were limited production. And the only way a dealer could get a Corvette was to have a signed order for one, so I'm saying.
Didn't you have to sell so many regular cars too to qualify or something?
Yeah, he was limited, I think, to like 2 Corvettes a year was all he could get, period. But he still had to have a signed order to even get one. So he said, Larry, do me a favor. He said, sign the order for a Corvette. And he said, when it comes in, he said, I don't expect you to have to take it. He said, if you want it, I'll sell it to you. But he said, I need somebody to sign an order for one. And he said, just so I can get it. And he said, I don't care whether you take it or not, because he said, I'll be able to sell it in a minute. So I signed the order for him. And at dinner that night, I didn't even have a job yet. I was out of college, but didn't have a job even yet then. Didn't have my sewer cleaning job even yet. But anyway, my dad, we were sitting there eating dinner, and I said, one of the few times I've never seen my dad any madder, is what I'm saying. I said, guess what I did today, Dad? He said, I don't know what you do today. I said, I signed an order for a brand new Corvette, so I'm saying. And the roof about fell off the house, I'm saying. And of course, I was trying to explain to him that the same thing I explained to you, that I did not have to take it when it came in, so I'm saying. And Don just needed somebody to sign. I said, if you don't believe me, go call Don, so I'm saying. But one of the few times I've never seen my dad any madder at me, so I'm saying, than
smoke curl.
Yeah, but anyway, it turned out. To make a long story short, I had a job. Because again, they were a limited production. From the time I signed that order till the time that Corvette was delivered was 6 months and 2 days before Chevrolet delivered that Corvette to Don Stanfield's dealership. And by that time, needless to say, I had a job and so forth. And it came in. Make a long story short, I actually bought that Corvette. So I'm saying.
I thought you did.
I actually bought that Corvette, so I'm saying. And by that time, I'd had a job, and of course, I was still living at home at that time. So needless to say, as living at home, I could save a lot of money.
Sure.
And I'm very proud to tell you that Corvette came in, and actually I paid cash for it and bought me that first Corvette, so I'm saying. So.
A little less than they are today.
A little less than there. I can tell you what it was. $6,600 is what that first Corvette
that year was?
That was 1974. 1974. Wow. Yeah. So that I've always been a Corvette fan. I've had, I think, about 9 of them. So I'm saying altogether. I'm saying different ones. So
I remember Simpson, Geckler Chevrolet,
right.
It was Simpson Chevrolet at that time.
Exactly.
He was a good friend of my dad's, and I don't remember why we were down there, but they had just brought in one of the very first Corvettes. Mm-hmm. The windows weren't even glass.
No, they were not. Huh.
And it was kind of a strange looking thing, and my dad kind of said, "Oh, who'd want one of those?"
No,
it was 53, I think.
53 was the year they came out.
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
53 was the year they came out because when I turned in 2003, when I turned 50, they came out with a 50th anniversary Corvette, special edition 50th anniversary Corvette, and I had just sold a piece of commercial real estate that I'd invested in 20 years earlier, I suppose, and I just sold it. And my wife said, what are you going to do with that money? I said, well, dear, it's my 50th birthday, and Corvettes are 50 years old, and they came out in specialty. I'm going to buy a 50th anniversary Corvette. So 2003, I bought a 50th anniversary Corvette, and I still have it to this day, is what I'm saying.
So you still have the 74?
No, I wish I did, but I don't. No, I had a 74, I sold it, I bought a 75, I sold it, and I bought a 76. I got married, started having children, sold my 76 Corvette in 78, didn't have another one until 2003.
I had a 68 convertible.
Did you?
And that was a great thing.
Oh.
Not practical.
No, they are not. That's why I said when Jeannie and I got married in 70, she got pregnant with our second child in 78. All we had was, I had an El Camino, I had a 76 Corvette, and she had a little Mercury Capri. That was the only cars that that was the 3 cars that we had. And we already had one child that was already a year old. And I talked to her and I said, dear, we got a problem. She said, what's that? I said, we have 3 vehicles, but none of the 3 can we put 2 car seats in, is what I'm saying. So I sold my 76 Corvette to Jack Barnhart, as a matter of fact, and bought a 78 Pontiac Bonneville that I could put 2 car seats in.
A nice car.
Yeah, they were. That I could put 2 car seats in. That was my story on.
You buy that from Flowers here?
I don't remember where I bought that, to be honest with you. I don't remember where I bought that at, but that's what we did. And then I went from 78 until 2003 before I had another Corvette.
A little dry spell.
Yeah. But anyway, my family life, like I said, it's been great all along. So I'm saying, like I said, I married my high school sweetheart, so I'm saying, and been married almost 46 years now, and have three wonderful kids. Going back to my kids, all 3 of them have a master's degree. One of them has, my oldest daughter has 2 master's degrees, so I'm saying, and I'm very proud to say that we were able to help them get through colleges, with all of them having master's degrees, without them having to borrow a dime, is what I'm saying. So
That's very complimentary because that's harder to do every year, I think, as time goes by.
when they graduated, yes, we owed more, but they didn't owe anybody a dime, is what I'm saying. And I'm very proud to say we both made up our mind we were going to do that because her dad put her through college, her mom and dad put her through college without any debt coming out. My mom and dad put me through college when I came out without any debt. And we were bound and determined we were going to do the same thing for our 3 children. And
today, the cost of college, of course, keeps going up and up, but so many come out with a huge debt that's almost insurmountable.
Yeah, of course, you were in banking for years, and I was in banking for years. I saw some unbelievable numbers, I'm saying, of student loan debt that I don't know how they were ever going to pay it back.
Not very encouraging to the student either.
No. I was married in 1978. We both lived here all of our lives, I'm saying, so never moved away. Never moved out of Marshall. Careers. Like I said, cleaning sewers. Went from there to as I told you earlier, to the city office manager. From 73, I went to office with city, worked for the city in 73. In 1983, Frank Pierce, I was working for him as he was the mayor.
And the city hall was on Main Street here.
City hall was on Main Street then, yes, sure was. I have to laugh because they used to have a jail cell in the city hall, and they got to where they could no longer keep people in that jail cell. So my office they created was that jail cell, so I'm saying. That was my office, so I'm saying. When I went to work in the office, from being outside working into the office itself, they put a desk in that jail cell, and that was actually my office.
They actually left the cell,
So yeah, for several years, that was actually my office, what I'm saying, in there.
and the fire department was next door with
Yes.
one fire stu-
Yeah, it was,
Fire truck.
Yep, your door, you had a door went from City Hall right into the fire station, is what I'm saying.
and the
So,
police car was usually parked there too.
yeah, right out front, is what I'm saying. Yes, it was. And I enjoy. I can't say I really enjoyed my job working for the city. I really enjoyed it. I worked there, like I said, 10 years. It just, the politics of it is what got to it. So I'm saying I enjoyed the job. I really did. But the politics of it, I just didn't like it, is what I'm saying. So anyway, Frank Pierce was mayor at that time, and a guy by the name of Don Belt was the president of Edgar County Savings and Loan. And him and Frank Pierce were very good friends. And anyway, Don told Frank that he was looking for somebody to manage, to come to work for Edgar County Savings and Loan. And Frank Pierce did me a favor. He told Don Belt, he said, I've got a young man that's got an accounting degree that he said, I think would work out real well for you, is what I'm saying. And I went up and interviewed with Don Belt, and he actually offered me the job at the exact same interview, is what I'm saying. And that was in 1983. At that time, they had an office in Casey, Illinois.
I thought you started in Casey.
Yeah, an office in Casey, Illinois, and they hired me to manage the office in Casey, Illinois in 1983. So I worked in the Casey office from 83 to 85. They actually had an office here in Marshall at that same time. And then there was a lady by the name of Wetzel, was her last name, that was managing the office in Marshall. And she retired or moved, I can't remember for sure. She's retired or moved. And they transferred me from the Casey office in 85 to the Marshall office. And was there ever since. Was there till I retired at the Marshall office. So
It was a little different office that you retired from, as I recall. It was at the old place was about 2 windows, I think, and a little narrow old building.
Yeah, it's where the title company is now, is what I'm saying. That's where our office was. There was me and two gals that worked in there, is what I'm saying. You can relate to this. This was back in the time where you hand typed all your loan documents.
Oh yeah.
I had to laugh because, again, in that office, they had one office in the back, and then we had the front end where the tellers were. But to get to the restroom, you had to actually walk through my office, so I'm saying, to get to the back room to the restroom, so I'm saying. So I would tease the girls that I had said, I'm putting a mark down every time you go through so I can see how many times. But anyway, I'm very proud we become very successful in that office. I can remember on Friday nights, on payday when TRW got paid and so forth. And of course, at that time, right after I started, that Edgar savings loans were just able to get checking accounts at that same time. So we didn't have checking accounts. We weren't allowed to have checking accounts until 83. And anyway, to make a long story short, we started having pretty good growth in there. And I can remember on Friday nights, when TRW and all the other companies would get paid, we'd actually have people lying down the sidewalk, maybe 20 or 30 deep, outside the door to get in to do their banking because there wasn't enough room in the front. And then I also remember, of course, you being in banking, you can relate to this. We had to balance to the penny every night, and me and those two gals were. The band concert would actually start playing several Friday nights before we would get out of there, needless to say.
What was that? Was that Ritter and Boehner before?
I believe it was, yes.
Okay,
I believe it was.
That was an old real estate mostly. Yeah.
And then upstairs was the title company was upstairs.
Okay, I forgot that.
Howard Young.
Yeah.
Had the title company in the upstairs of that building, is what I'm saying.
Is the upstairs of that used for anything now?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
We kept expanding and finally got big enough that we needed another office, and so we actually made that into an office upstairs. And Rick, I don't remember Rick Metzger or not.
Oh, yeah.
Rick worked for me as a farm lender for a while. And his office was actually upstairs, what I'm saying, in that building.
Not handicapped accessible.
No, it certainly wasn't. It certainly wasn't. But anyway, so I worked, started at the bank in '83 and worked there till I retired 6 years ago. So,
Which was 2018?
18. Mm-hmm.
So were you involved in the planning and all of the new building up on
I was. I was probably, I'm happy to say that I was one that very much was pushing that, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, we got so large, our people were so good to us that we got so large that we couldn't begin to handle the track. Of course, we didn't have a drive-up window of any kind. So I had to walk in. I can't imagine people even doing business. If I look back now, I'm thinking, why did they do business with me when all the other banks had drive-up windows and everything?
You could have set a cart up on the street.
But I told them, I said, guys, we're going to start losing business if we don't do something, is what I'm saying. And finally got the board of directors convinced to go up there and build a different facility, needless to say. So that was in.
Let's see. You had an ATM up there for the building, right?
Correct. The first thing we did was after we acquired the lot, the first thing we did was put an ATM up there. Yeah. And then I'm trying to remember what year we even built that building up there. I want to say maybe 99. 2000, somewhere in that range. I don't know. I don't remember the year we built that building up there. But anyway, then we built the original building. Then we continued to our business. You can relate this being in banking. When I started with Edgar County, with Marshall office, we had $9 million in deposits. Is what we had in deposits when I was there in '83. All I'm saying. And when I retired at Marshall, we had $118 million in deposits.
No difference.
When I retired at Marshall, is what I'm saying. So the customers have been very nice to me, is what I'm saying.
Larry, I think the strange thing is there were a couple of banks and you, but now we have more.
I keep telling maybe I shouldn't say this on radio, on recording, but I don't see any way that 4 banks can survive in Marshall, Illinois.
Really?
I don't see any way that 4 banks can survive. I'm not in it, you're not in it, we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Kind of interesting though.
But it is very interesting, is what I'm saying. It's, I don't know, we'll see, time will tell, I guess.
Now, I guess the thing that I was wondering about, these banks kept acquiring one another and changing owners and all of that.
Right.
Is that about the time you retired?
I retired when we got bought out. Yes, by First Mid Bank and Trust. When they bought us out, I worked about. Well, they wanted me to work 10 more years. They said, we'd like for you to stay 10 more years. but you can relate to this too. There's so many changes. I'd already been in banking 35 years at that point, and they had so many changes they wanted to make that I just said, you can't teach this old dog them new tricks, so I'm saying, and it's time for me to get out.
Government regulations are not handy.
The main reason why I retired when they took over was I'm happy to say that when I was managing the bank and First Bank and Trust, the board of directors had given me a $400,000 lending limit. So in other words, I could loan anybody I wanted to up to $400,000 with just my signature, which was very kind of them, is what I'm saying. When First Mid came in and took over, they took 100% of my lending authority away. They said, our home office is in Mattoon, and they have to approve all your loans. And I said, they have to what? They said, yeah, you have to send your application to Mattoon.
Application?
Yeah, you have to take your application, send it to Mattoon. They have to approve it before you can make the loan. I said, no, it doesn't work that way with me. I said, if I got a customer that I've been doing business with for 35 years, he comes in and sits down at that table, he wants to buy a new car, you're sitting here telling me that I can't tell him for 2 days whether he can buy that car or not? I said, well, the way I do it, when they walk out the door, they've already got the check to pay for the car.
Sure.
And I said, that's the way we operate. Well, that's not the way that's not the way we operate. I said, well, then I'm not going to work for you. I'm leaving. And I left. I had 35 years of banking experience. I was sending my application to a 23-year-old boy in Mattoon. Nothing against the boy, don't know him even. But I was sending it to a boy who was 23 years old, had 1 year experience in banking in Mattoon to tell me whether I could approve the loan or not. I said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that is not going to work.
I'm sure it would for most people.
And I left.
Adios.
Right.
So now with all your spare time,
I have to admit, I do enjoy working out in the yard. In the summertime and springtime, I have no problem because I usually can get outside and mow or trim shrubs or rake or piddle around in the yard, what I'm saying, do something, wash cars, you know. As I stated earlier, in the wintertime I do get a little bit bored. That's part of the reason why I'm glad we have this house in Florida, so I can go down there and at least get out in the sunshine. Like I said, I actually wish I did have more of a hobby of some sort, what I'm saying, because I do get a little, especially when Jeannie's still working, what I'm saying. I do get a little bored, what I'm saying, sometimes. I'm not going to deny it.
you can always start gold collecting or pin stamps. Or
Right. I do have a lot of days that I'm looking for something to do. I'm not going to deny that, what I'm saying. And I've considered part-time somewhere maybe or whatever, but I don't want to be tied down that way. If Gene and I decide tonight that we're going to Evansville tomorrow, away we go, you know what I'm saying?
You get used to that freedom, you don't have to change it.
Right. And anyway, what else would you like to talk about? Do we don't want to start
I guess I would say just a little bit about, you've always lived in Marshall.
I've always lived in Marshall.
What about the changes that have taken place or haven't taken place over the years?
Marshall's a great place to live. It's a great community. One thing I I'm a little disappointed in myself is I didn't get more involved in some. When I was at the bank, though, I was so busy. So I'm saying when I was at the bank that I had a great business at the bank. So I'm saying, and I worked 50 hours a week when I was working anyway. But I wish I had been a little more involved in some of the community stuff than I was. But I was just so bit. Looking back, one of the things that burnt me out was when I was working for the city for 10 years. The city council members, they had committee meetings of different types of committees. Well, as the office manager, they wanted me to attend these different committee meetings. So I was at committee meetings. Yeah, I was at meetings probably 5 nights a week already. So I'm saying I'd work all day, and then I'd go home, and I'd have to go back for a meeting of some sort in the evenings. And I did that. I was probably averaged 4 nights a week of going out to meet, committee meetings or council meetings or whatever.
It's old.
And when I was able to get away from that and went to work for the bank, I was burnt out on going to night things. So I'm saying I was just totally burnt out because I was gone. I had little children at that time, and I was gone. Like I said, 4 nights a week to meetings that I didn't really think I needed to be at all of them, but the mayor and them wanted me to be at them, so I went. So when I got burnt out, and so then when I got to the bank and I didn't have to do that stuff, I didn't have to attend anything at night in the evening, so I quit doing that. And that's one of the things that I feel like I did not do correctly, was I didn't stay involved in the community as much as I should have as a bank officer. But a lot of it was that I just got burnt out. So I'm saying. I just got burnt out. But
Well, our downtown is still pretty much intact, even though there's some vacant buildings.
right,
And there's a lot of places that were here back those years that's taken by Walmart and some of these things. But still, what would you say about our downtown community?
our downtown is wonderful, especially as you mentioned when you look at the Walmarts devastated several of the businesses. Let's face it, the Walmart is good. Don't get me wrong, but they devastated the small business, and that's true in every bit. And it doesn't make any difference which business you're in. It is whether it be the car business or whatever. It's devastating
Out there.
And just like us not having a local grocery store, Casey doesn't have a grocery store at all. That's sad as far as I'm concerned. It's very sad, and I understand why people shop at Walmart. They do have generally cheaper items. What I'm saying is the quality the same? No, but some people they don't care about that. Needless to say, but overall, for the size of our community, to have the number of downtown businesses in operation is wonderful. Is wonderful. And the work you guys have done on the Harlan Hall and the library is,
Thank you.
it is
Well, that's
wonderful.
it. I think the looks of the buildings have all been kept up.
Yes, it has.
Maintenance-wise, so it looks very much maintained. And some companies or towns you drive through are really kind of sad looking.
Very much so. Yeah, that's been a bit downtown. It does look good. It really does, and the community does a good job of keeping it up with the bandstand and the courthouse, and
We're fortunate there.
yeah, we're fortunate there. We're very fortunate that we have Mr. Forsyth. What I'm saying too. What I'm saying. A lot of people criticize him, but. Jealousy is what I'll say about that. So I'm
I
saying
think so too.
we're very fortunate to have Mr. Forsyth as a supporter of our community. Needless to say,
Well, I think we've been fortunate to have a guy like Larry Strohm started here, grew up here, and maintained a good business here.
Well, thank you. I enjoy, I'm very happy that I've stayed in Marshall, needless to say. And I'm very fortunate, very happy that I'm able to raise my children in Marshall. Marshall has its problems like all other cities do, but nothing to the magnitude a lot of them have.
And right now, we don't have any migrants,
Nope.
to my knowledge, anyway. Well, Larry, it's been a delight visiting with you, and you're going to be down in history, so that this is, goes on in digital format.
Right.
So someone in California can key into the library
Right.
and look at the oral histories.
Well, I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I'm very pleased to be part of it. Hopefully somebody will find a little bit of interest in what I've had to say. I will say there's no better place in the Midwest to live. There really isn't. It's,
One thing I do ask a lot of people, if you're, say, traveling in another country, I'm from Marshall, Illinois, and they say, where is that? Why would you be there?
right.
What would you say?
It's a great community. That's why I'm there. Most people are friendly. There's a lot of, we just have a lot, for small towns we have a lot to offer. We really do, for a small community we are. And a lot of it is due to Mr. Forsyth and you guys' efforts, is what I'm saying. But I can't give Mr. Forsyth enough credit and just say, I'm just afraid that it may dry up when he's gone, is what I'm saying. I hope not, but I'm afraid it might.
And we won't have any choice in that.
No.
Well, Larry, I want to say again, it was a delight visiting with you.
Yes.
I really appreciate you taking the time out to do that. And I think you've got some pictures there.
I don't know whether you want, I wasn't sure what kind of pictures they were looking for.
Jamie Poorman is going to look at those,
Okay,
and
fine.
she will make copies and give back any that you want to give back.
Yeah.
But she won't keep any of them.
No, that's fine. But a lot of these are personal pictures. I know you want personal. Some of them are the bank pictures. What I'm saying.
Yeah.
One organization I'm proud of. I didn't mention it on there, but this is a board of directors of a picture of the board of directors. I was on a board of directors called the Illinois League of Financial Institutions. It was a statewide